Susanna Hunter, can you come up for a moment? Brandon Harstad. Brandon, come up, please. Okay, it's time to get started. At this time, I will call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Lawton City Council to order. Please stand for the invocation by Pastor Jesse Marshall. There he is. Pastor Marshall is with One in the Spirit Christian Church and remains standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor?
Father, we thank you today for your goodness, your mercy, and we thank you for your grace. We thank you for the city of Lawton, and we thank you for all of our council members. Father God, we ask that you continually give them wisdom, give them revelation, give them insight, give them guidance, Father God. We ask that you would bless the city of the citizens of Lawton, that all of their needs are met through this governmental system that we have here in Lawton. So we just give you praise, we honor you, we glorify you. We thank you because you are good. And we just thank you for all of the support that Lawton has in fulfilling all of its financial obligations, all of its health and wellness obligations in this city. And we give you praise for that. And it's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Pastor. Please call the roll.
Hankins. Smith. Chapman. Gill.
Yes.
Hampton. Uyghur. Williams.
Present.
Warren.
Okay, so first is the Women's History Month proclamation. So if that group will come forward, please. Women's History Month. Very good. How you guys doing? All right, good. Whereas throughout history, women have played pivotal roles in shaping the fabric of our society, contributing to advancements in various fields and championing causes for equality and justice. And whereas women of diverse backgrounds, cultures, and experiences have made significant and enduring contributions to the progress and prosperity of our nation, often in the face of adversity and discrimination. And whereas the observance of Women's History Month provides an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the countless achievements and accomplishments of women, both past and present, while acknowledging the challenges they have overcome and the barriers they continue to break. Whereas it is essential to honor the trailblazing women who have paved the way for future generations, inspiring others to pursue their dreams and make a positive impact on their communities and the world at large. Whereas the empowerment of women and the promotion of gender equality are fundamental principles that contribute to a more inclusive, equitable, and just society for all. Whereas despite these contributions, the role of women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Women have historically played vital roles in creating and building the city of Lawton and continue to be active members of the community today. And we've got some active members of the community here that pretty much volunteer their time to serve the community as well. Whereas the city of Lawton recognizes the contributions of women from all ethnicities while also acknowledging that not every group's story was and is the same. And I have to tell you, we're the only city I know of with a matriarch instead of a patriarch, and that's Mattie Bill. All other towns lay claim to a patriarch, so I think that's significant too. Therefore, I do proclaim March 2025 as National Women's History Month. Let's give them a big round of applause. Now, you want to talk a little bit, Ms. Alberti?
As we look at National Women's History Month, we made a great contributions, not only in the city, in the state, and the national. So we take this proclamation for try and continue to do what we can to make our city a greater city, a better city where people want to come. And also, I will let you know that we put in this week should be our nominations forms go out for Outstanding Women of Comanche County. If you know someone that's doing community service, not getting paid for it, please submit their name. And we will be celebrating them on July the 31st with Lawton's birthday celebration.
Submit their name where?
On our
Clerk's
email.
office?
What's, you know how they, I don't know how they, we have an email address, or you can send it here to the city of Lawton.
Okay.
And
The
they're
city of
receiving.
Lawton or the city clerk's office?
Yes.
All right, let's give him another round of applause. Thank you guys so much. Good to see you. All right, now it's American Red Cross Month. Have we got the Red Cross here? All right, come on down. How you guys doing? Okay. And you're- How are you?
I'm your disaster program manager.
Okay. I'm going to give you a minute to talk. Okay. All right, let's read this proclamation. Whereas this March, we celebrate American Red Cross Month by recognizing the compassionate acts of people in Lawton, Oklahoma, and by renewing our commitment to lend a helping hand to our neighbors. Whereas since Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross more than 140 years ago, generation after generation has stepped up to deliver relief and care across our country and around the world, bringing out the best of humanity in the times of crisis. Whereas advancing this noble mission, the volunteers and supporters who now give back through the Central and Southwest Oklahoma chapter of the American Red Cross remain unwavering in their commitment to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of today's emergencies. Whereas their voluntary and generous contributions shine a beacon of hope in people's darkest hours, whether it's delivering shelter, food, and comfort during disasters, providing critical blood donations for hospital patients, supporting service members, veterans and their families, saving lives with first aid, CPR, AED, and other skills, or delivering international aid and reconnecting loved ones separated by global crisis. Whereas this work to uplift our community is truly made possible by those who selflessly answer the call to help whenever and wherever it's needed. I do hereby proclaim March 2025 as American Red Cross Month in honor of their remarkable service and ask everyone to join in their commitment to care for one another. Thank you for setting an inspirational example for others and rising to the highest level of some kind of wonderful. Let's give them a round of applause. We'll take a picture and then we'll let you talk, okay? All right. There you go.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the citizens and the residents of Lawton for supporting us. And we're here, it is our ultimate goal and mission to support you, to help you build resiliency within your community so you can bounce back after those disasters when they happen. We're here to support you. We're here to support your first responders and your emergency management in your entire city. And we appreciate you so much for all that you do to help us. Thank you.
All right, let's give Red Cross a big round of applause. Thank you, guys. All right. That brings up reports by the Mayor and City Council, and we're going to start down there with Dr. Julia Sabilla, Fort Sill Liaison. Doctor?
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Colonel Baird and the team, just want to say hello and thanks for having us here. We've got a lot of fun stuff going on at Fort Sill right now with all the other things. This weekend we've got a St. Patrick's Day run, and then we've got our big Lawton Fort Sill Warrior Marathon on the 22nd, kicking it off on the 21st with a dedication of the Buffalo Soldiers historical marker on our trail. We'd love to have everyone come out for that. And sir, just happy to be here. Thank you.
We're glad that you're here too. Thank you for that update. Mr. Warren, Ms. Williams.
Yes, I'd just like to announce that the Lawton Public Library will be having a book sale April the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. As a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and that will be all day. And also, I'd just like to say happy Women's Day to all the women, all the strides that the women have made. We even have our own amendment, 19th Amendment, that gave us the right to be able to vote.
Right. And Mr. Uyghur, Mr. Hampton.
Yes, Mayor, very quickly, Open Street is a one-day event on Saturday from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock for children. It is put on by the tobacco money that was given to the state, Healthy Living for the Kids. Make sure you bring the family out that Saturday. And we're hosting a WPA Historical Works Program state awareness here. Our city is actually doing that. I think 27th and 28th, isn't that right, Jason? Make your way out and call the city if you don't have it. It's going to be very, very interesting. We got people from all over the state coming by. You know, we have Ron Stevens Stadium here, which is a WPA project. If you haven't seen that, it's just really a pretty magnificent piece of work. And of course, I had some delicious peanut butter cookies and no-bake cookies from the farmers market. Go down there and pick you some up and visit the farmers market Saturday morning from 8 o'clock till 1:30. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, and I have here a copy of TBC magazine, and it's Oklahoma's most powerful and influential blacks, and inside is a picture of our very own Shireen L. Williams. Let's give her a note of congratulations.
Well, that's going to be hard to follow. Just a quick update on the roads. That process is moving along quite well. We have plans and specs getting close to in a position to go out for bids. We will receive bids this Friday, that's like in 2 days, on 38th Street for between Gore to Lee Boulevard. So that street, the bids will be turned in the end of this week, and we will start very soon thereafter. So I know a lot of people are watching and hoping 38th Street gets fixed, especially the council lady next to me. So everything's going on scale. We're going to have a good road program this year. We're going to get a lot of roads done. And I see Seth in the back with KSWO TV. I sent you my phone number and gave you a message to call me for information on that if that's what you need. My door is always open, and the rest of the press that's in here, I think, received most of the information. If not, feel free to call me. Thank you.
And Ms. Chapman.
I just want to give a shout out to our city utility, city employees. When I drive by 38th and Gore or over on Cash Road, and I'm looking at these men, the tops of their heads are even with the street. I mean, they're down in this hole, and that is a hard, hard job. And I just say thank you very much for that.
Okay, and Mr. Smith.
Had the awesome opportunity to get a tour of the Museum of the Great Plains. Their moniker is Explore the Human History of the Great Plains. What a fantastic place. If you haven't been there, you should go. It really explains our history, and it's just a phenomenal place to go and support. And it's right here in our city. They have artifacts that the Smithsonian Institute wanted to get, but did not get, but we did receive them. So it's well worth the visit, well worth the time to get educated about our Great Plains community.
And Ms. Hankins.
Seeing the Red Cross group, when I first came to Lawton about 25 years ago, that was the first thing I did is get involved in the Red Cross and served on that board. So I might encourage you, if you want to get acquainted with people, serve on a committee or something in your city. and make friends that way because it really works well.
Right, great. Thank you, guys. And now we'll move on to audience participation. Lawton citizens who have completed a request to speak form in which to address business not listed on the agenda may step forward at this time. And I have 3 that have filled out the paperwork. Susanna, is it Hunter? Okay, if you'll come on up. And then Brandon, if you'll come on up, and I've got to make sure I've got your last name right, Brandon, and then Booker Newton. Okay, and Susanna, what do you have to tell us?
There you go. Oh, it has 2 red lights. Okay. So I own about 20 properties here in Lawton, including a handful of short-term rentals known as STRs. And I've been doing it for over 10 years. And recently, well, within the past couple of years, the city instituted a tax on STRs. For over a year, and you can imagine, it's a lot of work, and it's like all hours and stuff like that. So sometimes I'm doing my taxes on a weekend, sometimes I'm doing them in the evening. But we only have between the 1st and the 10th to do our taxes and get the 3% discount. So sometimes there's usually a weekend there, of course. So for over a year, I would do my taxes, and I would put them in the little drop box out in front of the city building, and nobody said a word. It was fine. You cashed the checks within 24 hours, they were gone. Of course, they took the little drop box away, and they built the kiosk, which is lovely. In January, I went by the kiosk during business hours, and I'm not always in town during business hours, but I went by in business hours because I didn't know where the drop-off was. There's not a drop-off. So in the first week of February, paying the January taxes, I handed the lady my checks and my paperwork, and she took them. You cashed a check, you had it within 24 hours. It was in my, cash. Last week, I went over to the little kiosk, drove through, handed her my paper and my checks. 20 minutes later, she called me, told me to come back in and pick up my checks, park, and walk them into the city planning department. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to do that. So I humbly, I'm begging you, please put a little brass mailbox somewhere out there. You can hide it, you can put STR on it, and just make it easy for those of us who want to pay our taxes to pay them at 7 o'clock at night, midnight, 3 a.m., wherever, we're doing our paperwork. Sometimes I'm checking people in at 3 o'clock in the morning. If I'm sitting there doing my paperwork, I need to be able to run by and drop off my taxes. So please don't make me go to that kiosk anymore. Please don't let that lady yell at me anymore. Please don't make me park and walk into the city planning department.
Okay, and this will be reviewed, and we'll find out what the policy is, because believe me, when you're paying taxes, we want to make it as easy on you as possible. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Brandon, help me with your last name.
Yeah, I'm Brandon Harstead.
Okay. And what do you have to tell us, Brandon?
I live at 4102 Southwest 52nd Street, and I was looking at some city government maps, and it shows that that road is actually paved, and it's not. So I just wanted to come in, bring it to your attention, and see if it's something maybe we can get chipped and sealed. Miss Williams had me come down and told me to talk to you, so hopefully we can work together and get rid of that gravel, beating up city trucks that go down it, and keep people from having to come out there and grade it every other week. So.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that and see if we can't figure out a way to get it chip and sealed, and somebody will get back with you.
Okay.
Okay? Let you know what we come up with.
All right.
Thank you for coming, Brandon. And Booker Newton. Okay, Booker, I've got your address here, so we're good to go. What do you have to tell us?
Okay, so real quick, I was going over the agenda. I just recently retired from the Army, so I was going over the agenda trying to look and see how can I be helpful or how can I do my part. They say grow where you plant it. Well, I was planted right here in Lawton. And as I was going over the agenda for this week and previous months, I noticed something that struck me as sort of crazy, in my opinion. Now, number one, my son has been waiting 18 months to get into the VOTEC, into the carpentry class, because they got more kids that want to be in the program, and they don't have enough instructors. And so every year, there's going to be a backlog of kids wanting to do something with themselves. They won't have nothing to do. So they're going to fall either on as an asset or a liability. We all do. These kids are going to end up being liabilities with nothing to do. They have to just sit there and wait. As I was going through the agenda, I saw that you were about to award contracts for nuisance remediation across the city. And I'm thinking what a great idea would be if you took that $25,000 and instead of hiring a firm, let these young men and women who are on the backlog, waiting to go to VOTEC, work with somebody here locally, and the city pays their salary. That way it does two things. It gets them off the streets, it gets them actively working, and it fixes that backlog to the point to where when a kid graduates, he has something to do. When I saw the proposed cost per hour, $60 an hour, I think that's too high for any city to pay, especially right now with what we know that's happening across the country. We're being cut back. Veterans are being fired. The VA is being shuttered, and the Department of Education has just been told today don't come to work tomorrow. And so if that's the case, if we got young men and women who are graduating from high school, don't we owe it to them to have them a place to go if they don't want to go to college or join the military? What do they do? Where are they supposed to go? And that's my question to you. And I got one recommended proposed solution that we can take that money and everything that's needed, that's required to do this kind of work, the city already owns. And so it wouldn't be a big step to create a program. And the reason why I know, because as a young 16-year-old in Altus, I spent my summers building bridges, cutting grass, and filling potholes with 1,000 pounds of asphalt, and I had to do that by myself at 16 years old, driving an 18-wheel truck with no credentials to be driving it. So I know it can be done. But if we don't do it, just ask yourself this. Are we willing to pay the $40,000 it takes to house one of these kids in prison, as opposed to paying the $25,000 that it will take to properly educate them once they graduate? We need to do better. Forget about what's happening everywhere else, because last time I checked, all politics were local.
Thank you for coming. Okay, and that moves us on. Before we get to the consent agenda, we're going to do the addendum. And the addendum item is receive a report from the Safe and Clean Neighborhood Services Division and the Animal Welfare Division regarding the abatement of property located at 1908 Northwest 66th Circle. Who's first? John. How are you, John?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. How's everybody up here?
Oh, some kind of wonderful.
I'm here to provide you with an update to the abatement of the property located at 1908 Northwest 66th Circle. The property was issued 2 notices, with the first on 3/6 of 2024 and the second on 9/18 of 2024. No action was taken on either one of these notices. Due to noncompliance with the notices, the staff issued guidance again with the property owner with no corrective action. As you can see in the pictures before, taken by our staff. On 3/3/2025, staff went to the property to investigate several neighborhood complaints. Upon further investigation, in a nearby neighbor's yard, there were kids playing. We immediately thought Safe and Clean Kids First Initiative. Staff issued a rush abatement request and took actions to ensure that the neighborhood was safe and clean. In accordance with Lawton City Code 15-2-204, subparagraph B, number 4, a statement that any subsequent accumulation of trash or weeds on the property occurring within a 1-year period may be declared to be a nuisance and may be summarily abated by the city without further prior notice to the owner. This action addressed the removal of the accumulated debris and waste. Staff's intention is not to harm any citizens or cause any undue distress, but must uphold the City of Lawton codes. Staff recommendation is that the City Council supports the enforcement action taken and approve the cost recovery measures against the property owners to ensure compliance with City Code. Any questions?
What were the dates you served notices?
3/6 of 2024, and the second was on 9/18 of 2024.
And no, you didn't get any response to those?
Correct. Now, on the first notice on 3/6 of 2024, our previous code enforcement officer of that area did leave door knockers for the property owner to contact her. Around 9/18 of 2024, before that, she was apparently talking with the citizen, with the property owner, but then lost contact around that time. And that's what prompted her to, once again, write another notice to the property.
So are we required to give one notice or two?
So we are required to only give one notice because that notice, the notice of violation is good for a full year.
Okay, and they have how long to clean up whatever it is you notify them of?
So after they do receive the letter, they have 10 days to clean up the issue. If it's not cleaned up within 10 days or after 10 days, our code enforcement officer will go back out there, re-inspect the property, and will issue an abatement work.
Okay. It looked like there were a lot of vehicles besides all the debris accumulation. Looked like a lot of vehicles. Were those in the backyard?
These were actually in the front yard. Yes, sir.
This was in the front yard? You didn't have complaints from neighbors?
We did have multiple complaints from neighbors. Yes, sir.
Okay. Just on this one page, which of these pictures was the front yard?
All these that you're looking at is the front yard.
All of this was the front yard?
Yes, sir.
The stove was the front yard?
The stove was in the front yard. Yes, sir.
Can you go to the next slide?
In fact, let me go to the very first one. This one right here was everything in these photos is taken of the backyard.
Okay, this page is backyard. Okay, and is that all you have, 2 pages?
No, sir.
The front page. Front yard.
And so this is another page of the front yard as well. And then the bottom 2 are of the back.
Okay, council, do you have any questions or comments on this? Mr. Warren, you look like you're about to say something.
Well, the first thing is, I'm glad that we have the Kids First initiative started. I don't think the neighbors, I've discussed this with people, not this individual situation, but this type of situation before, over the years with people. And you know, the thing that always comes up is, well, it's my property, I can do with it what I want. But that's not true, because it's the citizens that live around this that we have to deal with. And we have to consider the fact that their property values are what is affected by the properties that surround them. I can't imagine if one of these neighbors had needed to sell their property and had a realtor come and try to show it. I don't know if you drop them in from a helicopter or what you do to keep them from seeing, you know, what's in the neighborhood. But that's my concern, is that, and this isn't the only house out there. This is the one we're talking about today, but there's a lot of them out there, and that's one of the reasons that we've got the initiative going. But I don't know why we have to continually deal with it. I mean, I understand why, but we shouldn't have to. As a council and as citizens, if you want to do with your property what you want to do with your property, like people say, and I understand, believe me, you could see the drawers in my house and in my office. I can't throw anything away. But the point is, if you want to do that, you can live in the county, and there's no codes, and there's no zoning, and you can do with what you want with your property. But in the city limits of Lawton and any other city, those things are put in place so that everybody's property at least stays at the value that they purchased it at and doesn't continue to diminish. Hopefully it goes up. I think it's a shame. The animal issue that was involved in this is a totally separate issue. It's interesting that it got commingled. You saw a lot about, I don't know if, and kind of going back to what was said earlier about the streets, I don't know how much of this information was provided to the press, if the press asked for it. I guess that would be my question. Has any of the press outlets, the TV, the newspaper, anybody asked for any kind of information about why we did what we did?
No, sir.
Well, that may be part of the problem. That's all I've got.
So I do want to clarify, Caitlin, did we provide this, but it was later? Yes, we provided. Okay. It was after the reports were done, we provided pictures. Okay. Ms. Williams.
Approximately how many complaints did we receive on this particular area?
Then I know for sure if we've received 3.
And that first one was what year?
2024.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wiegert.
With the number of complaints that came in, what was from the first sighting on 3/6, was there no action at all taken by the citizen? I mean, 10 days was given, 10 days came and went.
Correct. Our code enforcement. Sorry, Mr. Wiegert, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
That's okay. September 18th, another cite was issued, but another 10 days come and went.
So our code enforcement officer that is no longer with us, on the first one, I know on 3/6/2024, while reviewing those records, she was actually in talks with the property owner to have this cleaned up.
Okay. Okay.
On the one on 9/18/2024, that's when everything the talks kind of went silent on it. And so with me coming back over to Neighborhood Services, this is one of the ones that, I mean, we're hearing complaints, and I want to make sure that we're addressing complaints.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. You know, the freedoms that our soldiers fight for us to live like we want. One of those freedoms that I have thought about being military, my family being military, is the freedom to live together in a community. And everybody's so different that there's always opposing views in how we ought to live. One person wants to live spick and span, one person wants to live with a lot of clutter. But people still have to live together. And for myself, I kind of split my, and I'm not the spick and span guy. I don't mind a little bit of clutter, and you can talk to my wife about that. But you got clutter, then the clutter turns to trash, and then that trash, if you're not careful, will begin to bring bugs and rodents and different things like that. And at that point, it becomes very, very unsanitary. And, you know, I know, I don't know if you saw that show, The Hoarders. Maybe I'm telling on myself watching those kind of movies. But sometimes I'm flipping through and I see that and I kind of watch that a little bit. And, you know, I look at those people and they really want to be saved from the clutter and filth that they're living in. And they fight it, but after the end, they like the fact that they got helped. And a lot of times when I see pictures like this, I think this person probably wants to get help. And we as a council have to deal with a lot of D&Ds and a lot of things. And in my ward, I've tore down, I can't tell you how many houses I've tore down that had a lot of clutter. And I think that we all ought to understand that as we live together, and if people don't have the skills and are living in things that they shouldn't be, or you try to help them. And I always look at it from that perspective, that when I see stuff like this, I would like to try to help them. And I was on Facebook and saw that there were other people that were trying to help this situation out. But you know, somebody's got to be the heavy daddy about saying it's time to do this. And I think in this particular situation, I would say that it's probably time that we all help this situation out. And that in itself is really a kinder and better way to look at this. And that's all I have, Mayor.
I'll just save my comments to the second part of this.
Okay. Ms. Chapman.
There has to be an acceptable level of pride in our neighborhoods. I know when I first ran, this was one of the components of my campaign, was trying to clean up neighborhoods, having a sense of community and people feeling like they have a neighborhood. And I cannot imagine anyone who would really want to live next door to these pictures. This is beyond needing help. I mean, I have no words actually, but we need to, I'm very sympathetic to the people who live around him. We're trying to clean up neighborhoods in Lawton. And people have got to understand that it's a self-pride. Somewhere down, they've got to dig deep and get some self-pride.
What's the status of the property now?
So we did send out an abatement team out there, and I believe they were done on Friday. So as of right now, we did do a reinspection of the property yesterday, and it came back clear. So as of right now, we're starting our process on the paperwork on it to send the invoice to the property.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hankins.
I guess I would just say, first thought is it's not okay. If I was a mother with young children living next door, the rats that were there and going into the neighbors' yards, rats carry disease, and so there's so many factors with this that impede on other people's rights and property. So if I had a young child and lived close there, I would be irate.
Okay, I'm going to make some comments before we go on to the animal part of this. And as I look at these pictures of the front yard, my question is, why did it even take customer complaints? I'm going to direct my comments to the deputy city manager who's sitting in for the city manager. This should have been addressed before any complaints were called in. And so my only concern here is what took us so long. We are responsible for public safety and public health. And a front yard can't look like that if we're doing our job.
Correct.
So I hope that we will put in place more vigorous inspection and surveillance of neighborhoods. Kids deserve safe and clean neighborhoods to grow up in. And if that's all the comments, we'll go to the next one. Thank you, John. You're going to get to speak in a minute. We're still in the middle of this. Okay, who's next? Animal welfare? All right, Cliff.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, good evening. We wanted to start off with, I wanted to make sure everybody is warned. Some of the photographs in here may be disturbing and may be to some people. So if you're not willing to look at that, I would ask you to leave and don't look at that. So on March 3rd, 2025, my office received a citizen's complaint that was forwarded from the city manager's office through an email regarding potential animal welfare concerns at 1908 Northwest 66th Circle. So in response to that, I directed our animal control officers to investigate the situation. Next slide, please. So the complaint was in reference to rat infestation and other animals that were at the residence. And the animals included barnyard animals such as chickens and roosters, as well as deceased animals in trash cans and some other things. So when my officers arrived there, there was no one at the residence. I asked them, when they called me and explained to me the situation, I asked them to take photographs and document the situation, and they did so. And I also asked them to leave a notice to have the owner contact the animal shelter. The following day, March 4th, 2025, I consulted with the city prosecutor's office. Next slide, please. These are the conditions that my officers found at the residence the day that they went out there on Monday the 3rd. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And next slide. That is a picture of deceased animals in a trash can. Next slide. So at that time, I made contact on the next day, Tuesday. I made contact with the city prosecutor to determine what was the appropriate course of action for us to take at that particular time. Our discussion focused on the conditions of the property and the welfare of the animals that were present at the time. The city prosecutor advised me that an abatement order would be necessary, and then he started taking steps to obtain the abatement order. At that particular time, I wasn't aware that Neighborhood Services had already done this. Next slide. So while I was having the conversation with the city prosecutor, I got a phone call from Neighborhood Services saying that they were at the scene of the residence and that there was animals in the backyard, including wildlife, and asked for our assistance at that time. Myself and the officers that were on duty responded to the residence, and at that time, because of the information that I got from Neighborhood Services about the type of animals that were there, I contacted the Criminal Investigation Division and asked for them to come out and photograph the scene. I also contacted the state game warden and asked him to come out because of the exotic animals that were there. So CID came out, they took the photographs of the scene prior to the animal welfare people doing anything at all. Once CID was done with that, then we made contact with Mr. Breeden, and we asked him, or we basically told him that we needed to remove the animals that are there that were on the property that were not allowed by city ordinance. At that time, the state game ranger game warden took into custody the exotic animals. There was 2 raccoons, Canadian goose, and 2 raptors or owls that were in the backyard. Animal shelter at that time then took in 2 domesticated geese and 6 roosters, which are not allowed by city ordinance. The rest of the animals that were on the scene, Mr. Breeden contacted a friend, and she came and got the rest of the chickens, and as well, she came down to the animal shelter and took the 2 geese that we had as well, with the intentions to return them to Mr. Breeden once he gets everything he needs. Before our team departed the residence, next slide, please. This is just some of the scenes some of the pictures that CID took while we were at the scene. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. This just outlines what was taken from the residents by animal welfare and the state game warden, and also that the friend was contacted to take the rest of the chickens and the rooster. She is also in possession of the domesticated geese as well at this time. Before our team departed the residence, I spoke personally with Mr. Breeden and his brother. I expressed our understanding of the situation, and things like this can become overwhelming. I told him that we were there to help him and try to make things better so that he could continue doing the work that he wants to do. He was very cooperative in everything that we talked about and everything that was said. He understands what our position was on it and understood that we have a job to do as well. In an effort to assist with Mr. Breeden, next slide, please. Sorry. In an effort to assist Mr. Breeden from getting more wildlife that sometimes are just dropped off in his front yard, I posted a message on the animal shelter's Facebook page explaining not to take animals to Mr. Breeden's residence, mainly because he didn't have city license or state license or federal license. And out of respect for Mr. Breeden and the things that he's done for us in the past, I didn't post anything about the conditions or the animals or anything like that. I just left it like that to help him out, not having people drop animals off, which has happened since this time frame. Mr. Breeden was very receptive to our conversations. He's also talked with the state game warden and understands that the game warden was doing what he was supposed to be doing. Like I said before, nothing was mentioned about the conditions of the residents or out of respect for Mr. Breeden and what he's done for the city in the past and other entities around here. I'm open to all your questions.
Okay, council, do you have any questions? And instead of just going down the row, I'm just going to yield to whoever has comments or questions. And Mr. Gill, I know you had some.
No, I think you answered most of them on the animals. I wanted an accurate count on how many dead animals they did find in total.
Sir, I don't know that I could give you an accurate count. I can speculate based on what was there at the scene because there was numerous skulls and body parts that were in the backyard.
Okay.
So I couldn't give you an accurate count of that.
How many did we pick up or dispose of?
So the ones that were in the trash, we disposed. Those were disposed of with the abatement process, and also there was in the ones in the backyard that was disposed of. There's still, I would imagine, there's still some things in the backyard that are like remnants, if you will.
How many animals were alive that they took total?
Like I said before, we took 6 roosters,
Okay.
2 geese, there was 2 raccoons, there was 2 owls, and 1 Canadian goose that was removed from the scene.
Well, 13 then, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Council? Mr. Uyghur?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess my question I would ask, Mayor, is to ourselves. How is it that, I understand correctly that Mr. Breeden did not have a license at the city level, state level, or federal level. Is that correct?
Not to my knowledge.
How would this continue on, and again, we not know about this?
Sir, I can only speculate as to how that occurred. In the past, Mr. Breeden and his parents ran a rehabilitation, basically, service for
Okay.
just about everybody around here. The police departments used them, the animal shelter has used them, other entities around the city have used them as well when some of those animals become injured or something like that. So over those years, they were doing these rehabilitation and education processes throughout the entire time. Unfortunately, Mr. Breeden's parents passed away, and after that, I don't think that the license were renewed or
So the
picked
parents
up.
did have the license?
I believe they did, yes, sir.
Okay.
According,
Okay.
and I didn't find out about it. My tenure started here in July of last year.
Yes, sir.
But I wasn't aware that he didn't have a license either until I called the state game warden on a deer that was hit out on the highway that was still alive, and I asked him about contacting Mr. Breeden about coming and getting it. And he said he doesn't have a license. So at that point, I directed all the animal control officers not to use Mr. Breeden for animal welfare stuff.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Bob, Mike. Okay. I just wanted to make a point about these licenses that are required. There's a reason for that. And a lot of people do a lot of good things, and sometimes we think, well, they're doing good things, so we're going to overlook what the law says. But unfortunately, that doesn't always solve the problem. And looking at these pictures, the animals that they did have probably were having a worse time than if they had been left alone and just die by nature. Because looking at that water and the conditions that they were living in, the drinking water they may have had or not had, and the food, it was just an abominable situation. And if they'd had a license, they wouldn't have been able to do that. And that's why licenses are good for whatever type of professional service you're doing. You wouldn't go to a doctor that didn't have a license. Well, you'd hope you wouldn't. So it's just, those things are necessary, and that's why. So we can keep control and can keep an eye on those types of things. And we don't always find out what's going on, unfortunately. And it sometimes takes something like this, a completely separate incident, to call attention to something that's going on.
Yes, sir.
But thank you.
Mr. Warren. I've got a little different attitude than I did on the earlier part. The trash, I'll never understand. I'll never be able to understand that. The animal part, I can completely understand. It's not acceptable, but I understand it. Mr. Breeden loves animals. He cares for animals. And the bad thing about loving animals is you can't unlove them. And even if you're not doing the best that can be done for the animal, you're doing the best that you feel like you can do, and they become overwhelmed. And you can't stop because you're giving up on the animal. And I understand that totally. Again, it's not acceptable, but I can understand it, and it's a good thing to be that kind of person. But as Mr. Gill said, that's why we have to have licenses, and because I know I would be just like you. I couldn't control it. If somebody brought me a hurt animal and I thought I could help it, I would try to help it. And so I give you all kinds of respect for your desire to help animals. It's just more than you can do, and it needs to be done in an atmosphere and in a place that's not in a neighborhood, and with the proper licensing.
Mr. Uyghur. Okay, Mr. Hampton.
Yeah, I just want to say that I too think that obviously there was a need for the service that the Breedens were offering, obviously, in our community. Even the animal welfare were using them. And no doubt, my little grandmother taught me something years ago, and that's that everything takes money. And money needs, it's no doubt if there was probably more money and more resources available that this situation might not have gotten to the point that it is. I would like to see resources and money put forth to where there would be a place where people can take injured animals. And perhaps that may be the direction that this needs to go. And I've noticed that there are people that are reaching out now to provide finances for licensing and different things, as I've read on Facebook, what I think is an excellent thing to say about our community. I also want to say that from the way that our staff handled the situation, I think they sound like they were respectable and humane to people that were really providing a service, but things just kind of got out of hand. You know, unfortunately, everything lives and dies, and animals go quicker than we humans do, most of them at least. I think birds live longer, but I think that to give them the best quality of life as we do each other is probably very, very meaningful, and I think that that's what he was doing. And I respect our staff for showing this situation, the respect, and that shows something of our community. I understand people get upset, and no doubt when things come out in the open, everything it's difficult and emotional for a lot of people. But again, I want to say that I'm real proud of our community for dealing with this particular situation as they have. Thank you, Mayor.
Council, anyone else? Mr. Smith?
Mr. Raskin, I read in the paper where he was offered a volunteer position.
That's correct.
Because of his expertise. Is there a spot there for him that he can continue on?
So we offered him a volunteer position, which he can come in and help us at any time he wants to with any kind of wildlife that we have, or share his knowledge with other people that come into the animal shelter. I've also spoke with the aquarium and ask about, you know, they're always looking for volunteers. That may be an opportunity for him as well. So in the conversations that I've had with Mr. Breeden, they've been pleasant. They've been really good as far as him and I are concerned anyway.
Thank you. I would just hate to see that knowledge and that expertise go to waste because people have used them in the past. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Right. I too want to say I think that you've handled this very well, and I appreciate the way that the city has handled this. Seeing no further comments from the council, we do have 2 citizens that have signed up to speak. If Heather Kimball will come forward, please, and if Mr. Arnold will make his way forward as well. Heather, I've got your address here, so. Just, yeah.
All right, well, this is my first time, so please bear with me.
Okay.
I'm an old family friend of Wally. My name is Heather Kimball. I would just like to, I guess, shine some light on some of the pictures you guys may have seen. Well, obviously, you guys have seen up there. Those dead animals weren't due to him neglecting them. First off, what you need to understand is he's a rehabilitation center. He doesn't get animals because they're healthy and great and living the best lives. Sometimes he loses them, yes, but a lot of the animals we saw in those pictures were actually roadkill that he would pick up to feed his raptors. He doesn't get paid for what he does. It's out of the kindness of his heart, and a lot of the time he did with what he had. And if that meant going on back roads and picking up roadkill or catching fish to feed these animals, it's what he did. Also, I'd like to point out that animal control has used him a lot of times. A lot of times. I've been over there 3 to 4 times, I can tell for sure, that animal control has brought him animals. If maybe we could get those logs made public so people could understand that, we'd appreciate that as well. Animal control has brought him animals, raccoons, possums, birds, brought him these animals. And now they're upset that he has these animals. Also, I'd like to state the fact that October, John, who came up here and spoke, specifically stated October 2nd, his case was closed by the previous person who came out, the code enforcer, city inspector, whatever they're called, closed his case, told him it was okay. So they closed his case. So he thought everything was okay. And then people showed up at his house to take all of his belongings, to include anything outside. His dad's Vietnam uniforms were thrown away because they were outside. They were in the elements. So they were told, you have to toss them. Stuff from his parents were out there. What people don't understand is that his mom had issues and later on in life with dementia, and she would squirrel things away outside and hide them. And Sunrise came out and threw a lot of these really important things away. And he didn't realize it until they were gone. So, okay, well, that's just, I'd like for you guys to think about that and realize that all of this was out of the kindness of his heart. And those pictures look bad, But Wally's an amazing person, and I hope you guys can see that. And this has broken him, and he's really hurt right now.
Okay,
And if
thank
we
you.
could
And-
figure something out for him.
And I think that echoes pretty much what I heard the animal control director say as well. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening.
And Gary Arnold, and I've got your address here, so
My name is Gary Arnold, 2314 Northwest 76th Street, Lawton, Oklahoma, 73505, just, so you have it again. My dissent is not based in critiquing the licensing or the state of the property. That's all valid. You guys are valid there. The law is the law, and I agree. A lot of our neighborhoods shouldn't look like this. And when it comes to these things, the thing that I'm critiquing is how you have smeared a valued member of the community up here and how you treated him. I spoke to Mr. Braden outside before we came in here, and one thing he mentioned was how hard it is to ask for help. I know better than all of you probably how hard it is to ask for help. I understand Mr. Braden's situation more than you, and for you guys to sit here and make use of his services, even the game warden I've heard, is despicable. I don't know what else to say. You guys aren't going to listen to me. Never have, never will. And mental health comes into this, but you guys don't want to talk about that, all right? Mr. Braden was obviously depressed and overwhelmed. The people of this city keep calling him for help, and he's always there. I don't know if any of you know that type of dedication, but Mr. Braden obviously does. And I yield the rest of my time because I have no more words. Have a good day.
okay, thank you for coming. And now we'll move on to the consent agenda. And I had, I think item number 8 is what we're striking, right? We're striking number 8. And I had, city attorneys wants me to ask if there's anybody that wants to speak on any of the speed tables. Items 2 through 5, items 2 through 5, speed tables. Is there anybody here wanting to speak on those? Okay, seeing none, if I can get, unless a council member wants to remove something from the consent agenda, if I can get a motion for approval with the exception of item 8.
I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of striking item number 8.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries 8-0. Bringing up business item number 25. Consider holding a public hearing and approving a resolution regarding a request from Builders Investment Group LLC and Sumner Ridge Homes LLC for an amendment to the 2030 land use plan from industrial to residential low density for the construction of 8 new duplex homes to be located near 2108 Southwest Charles Whitlow Avenue and 2123 Southwest McKinley Avenue, Lawton, Oklahoma, 73501, and take appropriate action as deemed necessary. Cameron.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. This is a companion item with the next business item. The first one is an amendment to the land use plan. The next one would be a rezoning. This is located in the Lawton View addition. There's lots 5 through 18 and lots 34 and 35 off of Charles Whitlow Avenue and McKinley Avenue, just east of Sheridan Road. The current aerial shows that all these lots are currently vacant, with a lot of vacant lots in the surrounding area. The current zoning is R1, with R1 surrounding in all 4 directions, with a little bit of I1 and C1. The current land use for the entire area is industrial, and so the request is to amend that to low-density residential to build 8 new duplexes on these lots. Here's some examples of some duplexes that they've already constructed in the Lawton View addition. This has been noticed to 43 property owners within 300 feet on February 6th and posted in the Lawton Constitution on February 11th. We received no phone calls for or against this. This item went to the City Planning Commission on February 27th, where they voted 6-0 with a recommendation to approve these items. I did want to note that this builder has built 47 new doors. 31 are currently under construction, and 88% of those are in the Lawton View addition. And so that is this is just an extension of the work that they're already doing.
So 47 plus 31?
Correct.
Really?
And this is
Mr.
an
Gill.
amendment, a companion item with the next item, but this one right now is to amend the land use plan, and then the next one would be a request to rezone from R1 to R2.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the amendment.
Okay, hold on a minute. We got to have a public hearing. Any questions?
I don't know if it's pertinent or not. I mean, when did this get zoned industrial?
It's on the land use plan. That was put in place in 2005. It's the 2030 land use plan. We're currently working on a plan with Garver to amend that to the 2050 land use plan.
Ms. Williams?
Oh, I was just going to make a motion that.
Okay, we got to have a public hearing. Okay, seeing no further comments from council, I will open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Now you can make your motion, Mr. Gill.
You want me to yield it to you? We'll go right ahead.
Okay, Ms. Williams.
I make the motion that we accept this. Am I saying that right? That we approve this.
And we have a second discussion or debate. Please vote. Motion carries 8-0. Bringing up item 26, consider holding a public hearing and approving an ordinance regarding a request from Builders Investment Group LLC and Sumner Ridge Homes LLC for a change of zoning from the R1 Single Family Dwelling District to the R2 Two-Family Dwelling District zoning classification for the construction of 8 new duplex homes to be located near 2108 Southwest Charles Whitlow Avenue and 2123 Southwest McKinley Avenue, Lawton, Oklahoma, 73501, and take appropriate action as deemed necessary. Cameron.
Yes, sir. This is just the companion item to the one that we just approved. This would be the actual ordinance, considering the ordinance for the rezoning portion of this.
Any questions? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak on this item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council?
A motion that we approve this item.
Waive the reading of the ordinance and read the title only? Yes? And is there a second?
Yes.
We do have a second. Please read the title.
An ordinance changing the existing zoning classification from the R1 Single Family Dwelling District to R2 Family Dwelling District zoning classification on the tract of land which is hereinafter more particularly described in Section 1 hereof, and authorizing changes to be made upon the official zoning map in accordance with this ordinance.
Please vote. Motion carries 8-0, bringing up item 27. Consider a cost-sharing application from Marie Deddy for the installation of a 12-inch water main along Southwest Lee Boulevard, adjacent to their proposed complex to be located at 4521 Southwest Lee Boulevard, and take appropriate action as deemed necessary. Christie.
Good afternoon or good evening, Council. We received a cost-sharing request from Marie Deddy, actually from Pippin Brothers on behalf of Marie Deddy, for the cost sharing of 12-inch water line that's required on the north side of Lee Boulevard. And so we evaluated this application. It is in compliance with Council Policy 6-4, and we are recommending approval.
Council, do you have questions? Who does? Mr. Weger?
Yes. Question. This 12-inch water line moving from an 8-inch to a 12-inch will not require a casing 16 inches in diameter, correct?
Rusty? Yeah, the 8-inch is what they proposed, and that does not meet with code.
Correct.
Yes.
The water line runs along the north side of Lee Boulevard, and it does not. The only time we use casings is when we're crossing under arterial roads.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you.
Other questions?
Rusty, I got.
Mr. Gill.
Mr. Mayor, the water line's on the north side, and it's currently an 8-inch.
No, there is one 6-inch crossing right there at the gas station. Then there's one that crosses down at the very west end of that property. They're 6 inches, but they do not even provide fire flow. That's why they had to loop their line. 8-inch will get them their fire flow, but our master plan on an arterial requires it to be a 12-inch.
Right, so they're going to run that from where to where?
They're tying in from the gas station across to the west side of their property. Then it also ties back into the housing development
Behind
to the north.
it, to the north?
Yes.
So, okay. Do we have
Those are 8-inch, but the
do
12
we-
inches along the
Do
arterial.
we have a cost on that?
I do.
I didn't see it, but it's possibly. in
Yeah,
there.
the cost is in there. The additional cost after the material swap is at $17,835.83.
And they're offering to pay a percentage of that?
No, their cost would be providing the 8-inch material that they already purchased.
Okay. And so it'd be 17,000 on us for
Out
that
of the,
water line?
correct. Which is under the 20,000, which is the limit in the.
Who's the actual owner of Marie Daddy?
It's Marie Deddy. Marie Deddy Inc.
Independent foundation, yeah.
Yes, they have their own incorporation.
There you go. Yes, Ms. Chapman.
I move we accept this cost-sharing agreement with Marie Deddy.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Discussion or debate? Please vote. Motion carries 8-0. Bringing up item 28. Consider repealing or reaffirming Resolution 24-094 to allow the new property owner of property located at 1816 Northwest Arlington Avenue to obtain a building permit to remodel the single-family residence that was declared dilapidated by City Council on April 23rd, 2024, and take action as necessary.
Mayor, Council. Hey guys, how are y'all? Let's see if this is why this isn't. Can you help me out? I'll just point, to the. So this structure was initially brought to council on April 23rd, 2024. Go ahead, next slide. We posted on this property on 4/10/2024. Go ahead. And this was for the secondary structure, the garage that is out back of the main structure. As you can see, damaged siding, roofing, holes in the siding as well. And then the top part of where the awning was by where the front of the garage was, came down, and that has been recently removed. I do have this property has come out to the new property owner, and the new property owner is requesting a permit so he can continue on to get this garage back up into this property into livable condition so people can live there and actually use that garage to park their cars. Tonight with me, I do have the property owner here of 1816 Northwest Arlington Avenue. Questions?
If the council were to approve the issuing of a permit, does this still stay on the D&D?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir. He still has to get the inspections to get it off of it.
Okay, how do you want to word this? So Tim is going to reword the staff recommendation.
So John, just so I understand, you say reaffirm the resolution says the property owner has so many days to get a permit and then continue to make progress. Are we really asking that the property owner be given more time under before council, well, before we do just go ahead and tear something down, how much time are you asking for? In reaffirming, how much more time would he have?
I mean, he's ready to rock and roll tomorrow.
I understand, but
With
my
the permit.
question is, how much time would he have under the resolution if it was made new again?
So if it was made new again, he would still get the permits. With that, he would still have 6 months to continue to get the permits to get this secondary structure back up to code.
So would appropriate motion be moved to allow property owners 6 months to make progress to either demolish or get up to code? Would that be the appropriate motion?
So if we reaffirmed the resolution, it would give him 30 days to pull the permit, and then he would follow the 90 days by the permits, which would give him the two 90-day permits, which would give him the 180 days before we bring it back to council. And that's what we're asking for.
So I can read what it says right there, right? Reaffirm. I'll make a motion to reaffirm the resolution number 24094 and allow the new property owner to obtain building permits to remodel the property located at 1816 Northwest Arlington Avenue.
Motion and a second. Discussion or debate. Please vote. Motion carries 8-0. Bringing up staff reports. Provide City Council with an update on the FY 2024 audit process.
Can you hear me now? Our audit process is still ongoing. We are still on mark for March 31st to bring it to council on April 8th. We do still have one pending piece of information from our actuary, but all indications are we are still on target.
You've been in touch with them, right?
Daily.
Ah, and they understand the urgency.
They do.
Okay, very good. Council, do you have questions? Okay, thank you very much. Have a motion to go to executive session. We have a second. Please call the roll.
Hankins. Smith. Chapman. Gill. Hampton. Uyghur. Williams.
Yes.
Warren. Okay.
Okay, can I get a motion to return?
So moved.
Have a motion to return. Is there a second? Please call the roll.
Hankins. Smith. Chapman. Gill.
Yes.
Hampton. Uyghur. Williams.
Present.
Warren.
Okay, item number 30, Tim.
Pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma Statutes, council convened an executive session to discuss the pending action in the United States District Court, Western District of Oklahoma, titled Christopher Hartley versus City of Lawton et al., case number CIV 24153J. That conversation occurred. We have a motion.
Mayor, Council, I move to authorize the signing of a conflict waiver to waive any potential conflict and allow W.R. Moon and the law firm of Collins, Zorn, and Wagner to continue to represent in the litigation the City of Lawton and those individuals named in their official capacity that the firm is currently representing in their official capacity.
Is there a second?
Second.
We do have a second. Please vote. Motion carries 8-0, bringing up item 31. Tim?
Pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma Statutes, the council convened an executive session to discuss the pending action in United States District Court, Western District of Oklahoma, titled Kent Jackson as personal representative of the estate of Israel Williams versus City of Lawton et al., case number 5:23 CV 284G, and a motion is pending.
Mayor, Council, I move to authorize the signing of a conflict waiver to waive any potential conflict and allow W.R. Moon and the law firm of Collins, Zorn, and Wagner to continue to represent in the litigation the City of Lawton and those individuals named in their official capacity that the firm is currently representing in their official capacity.
Is there a second? Second. Please vote. Motion carries 8-0, bringing up item 32. Tim?
Pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma Statutes, council convened an executive session to discuss pending action in the United States District Court for the Western District of Oklahoma, titled Felicia Parker versus Larisha Parker as next of kin to Isaac Dwayne Parker, deceased, versus City of Lawton et al., case number CIV 24178JD, and a motion is pending.
Mayor, Council, I move to authorize the signing of a conflict waiver to waive any potential conflict and allow W.R. Moon and the law firm of Collins, Zorn, and Wagner to continue to represent in the litigation the City of Lawton and those individuals named in their official capacity that the firm is currently representing in their official capacity.
Second. We do have a second. Please vote. Motion carries 8-0, bringing up item 33. Tim?
Pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma Statutes, council convened an executive session to discuss negotiations for a fiscal year ending 2026 collective bargaining agreement between International Association of Firefighters Local 1882 and the City of Lawton. That conversation occurred and no action is necessary.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
The motion is second. Please call the roll.
Hankins. Smith. Chapman. Gill. Hampton. Uyghur. Williams. Warren.